Good morning. Welcome to this session on technology, how to bridge the digital divide between older and younger generations. Yesterday, we had another session on technology where we had presentations showing how technology can benefit older persons in healthcare, in building communities, and in other areas. And then in the second part, we had technology showcases showing how, again, specific apps for older people with Alzheimer, how it benefits them and their families. Also an app to make older people happy by connecting, and an app where older people can tell their stories and link to each other. And now we're going a step further. We will discuss what policies we need to build the digital divide. Yesterday we had two takeaways. One was, if you want older people to use the app or technology, it has to be simple. And the second one, people have to see the benefit, so they start using it. So don't blame older people or make it accessible, usable. So now I would like to invite Mr. Rohit Prasad, the CEO of HelpAge India, to deliver welcoming remarks and introduce this session, and then we will look forward to panel discussions, presentations, and hopefully some interactive input. Thank you, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you. Well, welcome to one of the most exciting topics. Technology is always seen as the game changer. It is seen one of the most prominent aspects that can transform things. But how do we do it for elders? And that's the essence of the discussion that we are going to have. Yesterday, as Vanessa mentioned, we covered the what aspect of it. You know, what's going on, what's the landscape like. But today is much more a workshop mode that we want to be in, and we want to talk about the how. And the how is always the most difficult part. So let me set the context briefly, and I want to touch upon essentially 3 points. One is that digital is an opportunity, and the divide is also real. So the question for us would be, how do we bridge this divide and create the opportunity? And the reframing is essentially not to think about the divide, yes, that matters, but how to make the opportunity happen. The second thing I think is very important for us to keep in mind is the aspect about what are the key intervention points? What will be the key pivotal points that we hit on so we can make this change happen? And the third aspect I want to just keep in mind, some threats or some caution points that we may keep in mind. So let me just start with the opportunity, and I would make an upfront statement that the opportunity is huge. And yesterday we talked about digital health, digital banking, payment systems, and a whole lot of areas that are there. But the divide is also real, but I want to touch upon 2 aspects of the opportunity. One is the latest, the artificial intelligence, which is obviously the jury is still out on that, but does it have a role for elders? And one would argue that artificial intelligence, being so intuitive in nature, and you can think about the voice assistants, you can think about ChatGPT, maybe it's custom made for elders. And a lot of the aspects around writing, inputting, etc., the AI completely takes it out. So think about that, the latest in tech, and digital is very dynamic, we know that. So latest in tech, how can we make it work for elders? The second aspect is, again, a reframing aspect, and that's the theme of the conference this time, is whether elders are going to be content consumers. And we know that our grandparents and parents, all of us are on WhatsApp, we are consuming, we are sending out a lot of the good morning messages and interacting with the world. But can they be content creators? And this was touched upon yesterday. And one would again submit that with all the enormous knowledge that they have, they are content powerhouses with their experience, wisdom, they can possibly be the best content creators in the world. And the digital, by the way, offers that completely open, equal opportunity to everyone. So let's keep that in mind in terms of the opportunity that it's huge space, it's waiting to be realized, but then the question that the promise is unfulfilled, the opportunity is unrealized. And that's why I want to put two important aspects is that how do we do it at scale and how do we do it quickly? Yesterday we saw some exciting examples by presenters who made, the startups who made some of the presentation. And we all know in all our countries, including my country in India, we have these pockets of excellence happening. But there is no time. Digital moves very fast. It's like the train moving and elders are standing on the platform. How do we get them onto the train at scale and quickly? So there are the two broad aspects I want to touch upon. One is the roles of the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in this? The elders to begin with. But it's also true that the elders' voice hasn't been so strong enough. Their demand for being included in the digital space, which they are getting left out and left behind, we don't hear that often. How do we strengthen that? The second aspect is the family. Now, we know that family is the backbone and the main bearer of many responsibilities, and we do look at families. Now consider this. In the space of digital, within a family, you have the digitally most savvy or the digitally native Gen Z and the millennial sitting. And you also have the digitally naive, relatively naive sitting. Both are sitting at the dining table and in the same household. And there's potential for the best intergenerational knowledge transfer within the household. But it doesn't happen. It can happen, but it doesn't happen. When we did a study in India and we asked the elders, why don't you learn from your children? They said they don't have time. And second, they don't have patience. Now that's a problem that's very difficult to solve for, but we may like to think about how do we make this household intergenerational transfer happen. But we can think beyond that. We can think about intergenerational from the perspective of the school children, the youth, the youngsters, the volunteers. Can we mobilize them? And we started doing some school-based program, and they're very exciting. They want to come and do that. So it's not for your own grandparent, but it's for the larger other community members as well. The second aspect I want to touch upon is the role of the government. Now we know that the government is very big on digital. Every country has a digital mission, but the elders are not yet factored in. They're not yet included in the thinking. Digital is for youth. That's the dominant narrative. How do we make that change? And I can tell you that there are some policies which stops at 60. There are digital programs that stops at 60. Now that's in a way a violation of the rights, but it's also, the inclusion principles are completely missing out. Now, the third aspect is the private sector. The private sector is huge. They are the giants, but they are not yet taking a keen interest. So how do we engage the private sector? Finally, just a quick point on access. The access to data and devices is a problem, but we have to think about the rural-urban divide. The adoption rates, which Professor Mayo mentioned yesterday, the usage is very low. So how do you solve for more usage? And we know that the confidence level, as well as the usage. So imagine, the best of solutions are out there, but elders are not using it. So how do you bridge this adoption gap? Do we need incentives? Do we need some other formats to do it? And finally, designing for the elderly. We have to learn to design for the elderly from the beginning. And that's something that requires a different user interface and user experience. But the apps that are being made, the systems that are being made, that needs to be done differently. Very quick point on two threats. One is cybersecurity that got mentioned a lot, and it's real. It's probably one of the derailers in the system. And the second one is that digital cannot be pushed. It's not that we have to do everything to make the elderly happen and there's a push mechanism, but we have to create the ecosystem that the elderly get onto the train. They're happy to get onto the digital wave, and we do it in a way that's inclusive and at a pace that the elderly can manage. So with that, I will conclude, and I look forward to the discussions and your thinking on this, and we are going to possibly end with some action points that we can take forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rohit. Very difficult to really build upon what's been such a comprehensive opening speech, and it's wonderful that he has set forward a lot of questions, and I hope the panelists will help us answer. So without much ado, I'd like to start with the panel discussion. I'd like to invite our esteemed panelists, and we have really some wonderful panelists who are going to really explore what the governments are doing, what they want to address, and what kind of ecosystem they want to create. The first panelist that I'd like to invite on stage is from Indonesia, Pak Dinar, who we all know is one of the people who has worked tirelessly for this conference, and today we have the chance for him to share the stage with us. Pak Dinar, who is the Senior Policy Planner with Bapenas, who is going to talk about integrating community-based services through the Silani digital platform. Pak Dinar, if you'll come here. The second panelist is Ms. Patarapan Yanbutra, who's the team leader of Quality of Life and Security Development and Promotion Department of the Digital Economy Promotion Agency of Thailand. Welcome, Ms. Patarapan. Our third panelist is from Vietnam. She is the Senior Health and Care Program Officer with HelpAge International in Vietnam, Ms. Nong Thu Trang, who will talk about the good practices and strategies to overcome the digital divides in low and middle income countries, an issue that was also highlighted in our Ms. Tui, right up here. And last but not least, I'd like to call upon my colleague, Sabine Henning, who's going to draw upon some of the tools and strategies that we have extracted from our digital literacy project that we have implemented in a number of countries to maybe share some of the lessons learned. So without much ado, we have limited time and there are other segments, including working group discussions. And I know that we have some brilliant panelists, but I'm urging them to stick to the time limit of 6 minutes. So I'd like to start with Pak Dinar with his presentation and his thoughts on integrating community-based services through the Silani digital platform in Indonesia. Over to you, Pak Dinar.
Thank you, Pak Srinivas. Good morning, all of you. Just please remind me if the time is almost up, because I tend to talk a lot. But hopefully the time is fit for us. So I would like to start with maybe next slide.
Next slide, please. Keep moving.
Yeah. So in Indonesia, currently we have about 32 million older people, and only about 1/4 or 25% of them are active users of the internet. This is based on our national survey that is done every year. So this is a situation that we can call as a digital divide, because as you can see in the picture below that the internet usage by age, you can see that there is a difference that is quite significant. However, we can see that those who age 50 to 59, almost 50% of them are active internet user. And when we get younger, 40 to 49 years old, we have almost 70% using the computer. So those between 40 to 59 are future older people. So in 5 to 20 years, we will have older people with more knowledge on digital technology and will be more technologically savvy. So this is something that we can see as an opportunity, a challenge maybe now, because not very few of them are using internet and digital device. But in the short future, it's no longer going to be something that is very different probably between the older generation and the younger generation. There will be some differences, but many people will use technology, including older people in the future. Next slide. Slide berikutnya. On the other hand, we are also facing a vulnerability when we get older, And in Indonesia, I think more than half of the people with disabilities are older people. So this is also showing that digital technology is getting more important when we also see that digital technology can help people with disabilities. Maybe it's going to be a challenge in one way, but in many other ways, it will be an opportunity for us if they are technologically savvy when they were younger, and they hopefully will be older people with a digital knowledge that is sufficient, and hopefully digital technology will be able to help them. Slide berikutnya, next slide. So what we are doing in Bappenas is trying to start what we call as Silani, or Sistem Informasi Lanjut Usia, older people system, that try to linkage older people and their family with services. So this is not a standalone system. This is a system that equips the pilot that we are doing, the model that we are developing called integrated older people care system. So if you followed the presentation of Ibu Tirta Sutejo yesterday, you will see the implementation. Well, this is actually the system that support the model. So what we do is that we are strengthening the capacity of the community to be able to understand the older people in the community. Who are they? Where do they live? What kind of vulnerability they are facing? And what kind of support they currently receive, either from the government, from the community, or from the family, and what are the gaps? What do they need to fulfill so they will be able to reduce their vulnerability? And we try to introduce the application, the system, to make the work more efficient and effective. We started by collecting data in the community on older people, and then we try to get a lot of information from the data, put it in the system, and create a system that will be able to create a communication between older people and the integrated care, so they can they can request for help, and those in the integrated care, the case managers will be able to provide some help. Next slide. So we started with several locations, but currently it is in 2 locations in Bali and in Jogja, 2 locations with the fastest aging population. Next slide. So this is basically the system that we are trying to create. We try to linkage the older people in the community, or the caregivers, the family, to the many types of services that can be provided to them, either from the ministries, from the local government, from the communities, that are managed togetherly in one integrated hub consisting of social workers, health workers, and community workers in the area. Next slide. And the system has been developed since about 5 years ago, starting with the data collection. We have a first version of the system, and in 2024 we have an upgrade of the system. We call it Silani Digital Platform 2.0, that hopefully will be able to be expanded to more locations. Next slide. So for now, there are about 8,500 older people using the system, mostly only in Yogyakarta and Bali, because only 25% of older people are technologically literate. Very few still using the system. However, many of the family are also using the system and can use the system to help the older people in the family. Next slide. So this is the application. We have a dashboard. We also have the application. We developed the design of the application with a research to what we call as human factor study, to understand what are the needs of older people, what do they want to see when they open an application, what colors works better for them, what type of font works better for them, the size of font the size of the letters that works for them, and the general flow. So the human factor study includes, covers older people that are technologically savvy, and also those who are not using technology very much, but they are using a smartphone. For example, they are using only for texting, only for WhatsApp, to understand what kind of design of the application that will be able to help them the most, that they can use it the easiest way. Next slide. So this is Pak Malik's picture. We received the award in 2023 about the system. This is still a developing system. However, in the future, there will be 32, we have 32 million of older people now. If we have about 25% of the older people technologically savvy, it means that about 8 million are potential users of the system, not including the care providers, the community workers, and then those in the community that will be benefited from the system. I think that will be all from our side, sharing a little bit about Silani. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Dinar, for your... It's quite inspiring. It's at pilot stage now, but then we are really looking forward to the upscaling. And I hope it will not only cover the 25% who are digitally active, but also expand, I think, build the capacity of the other 75%. But great that you got this award, and I think you deserve bigger awards when you expand this. So we look forward. Kun Patarapon, could you share your experience from Thailand on how you're building a digital society for ages?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to have an opportunity to present this topic on behalf of the Digital Economy Promotion Agency, or DIPA, of Thailand. So who are we? DIPA is a government agency promoting the digital economy under the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, with branches nationwide. We use matching funds to support sustainable business models and communities. Next slide, please. This is our plan. Next slide, please. We also promote Thai digital enterprise through our online registry called the Thailand Digital Catalog, and have established the D-Sure certification mark for tax incentives and other benefits. Next slide, please. Recently, we launched the One Tambon One Digital project to enhance agricultural drone use. This initiative includes setting up 5 training centers, 50 drones repair centers, and integrating drone technology into 500 communities across the country. Similarly, in the Transform New Normal Market project, we introduced digital tools to SMEs, street vendors, and hawkers. Many participants in these projects are elderly. Our goal is to support a collaborative ecosystem where startups, SMEs, farmers, and communities work together, particularly in cost-effective services. Leveraging elderly local wisdom can improve production processes, reduce expenses, increase income, and enhance quality of life. Next slide, please. Thailand is a super-aged society with around 4 million elderly households without children and a 64% unemployment rate among seniors. By 2025, life expectancy is projected to reach 85 years, while inflation has averaged 4% over the past decade. To support expenses until the age of 80, individuals need to accumulate around $300,000. Addressing these challenges is crucial to ensure seniors can live with dignity and security. Next slide, please. Digital inclusion is key to our future. We emphasize the need to widespread digital technology adoption and reskilling, particularly for the elderly. We offer digital skills education, promote cybersecurity, and provide support through online, on-site, and hybrid training sessions. We also creating job matching platform and crowdfunding initiatives to boost employment opportunity for seniors in digital roles. Next slide, please. With a team of around 200 members, it's not feasible for our organization to directly serve the entire population. Therefore, we recognize the importance of launching awareness campaigns to extend our reach and impact more people nationwide. These campaigns cover themes such as intergenerational solidarity and digital literacy using formats like bite-sized sitcom content. This one we joined with Young Happy social enterprise
Yes.
who CEO is here. Okay. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of our collaborations to upskill, reskill, and teach new skills to elderly people, public-private partnerships, and international collaborations. For instance, we work with APC ICT and the development of older persons and the development of women affairs and family development on vocational training in local wisdom and entrepreneurial ventures. Next slide, please. Another initiative is the AI for Better Life project in partnership with Ban Phao General Hospital and AstraZeneca Thailand. This project uses AI for early lung cancer screening, aiming to reach 1 million Thai citizens by 2026 to facilitate quick diagnosis and timely treatment, improving survival rates. Next slide, please. We are also pioneering flagship projects to showcase the application of digital technology by Thai health tech startups. For example, Village Health volunteers use an app designed to record home visits to patients and elderly individuals. This app features AI-powered image analysis that translates photo into record data within a unified system. This project, advanced by Thai startup Articulus Company Limited, enhances the impact of this smart city initiative. Next slide, please. Another example is the Smart Ambulance project that aims to increase ambulance dispatch efficiency and allow paramedics to perform simple diagnose and relay information back to the hospital before the patient arrives. This initiative enhances the efficiency, accessibility, and quality of medical services. Next slide, please. Other vision includes driving the ASEAN Digital Hub through the Industrial and Digital Innovation Promotion Zone EEC. The goal is to create a high-tech innovation hub and foster global collaboration in technology and digital innovation. We aim to facilitate collaboration between leading global businesses and digital startups in designing, developing, and advancing technology before expanding into domestic and international markets. Last but not least, to build a thriving ecosystem for longer, healthier, and happier lives, we seek to collaborate with public and private partners, binding our efforts and leveraging digital technology and innovation. We can address the challenges of an aging society and deliver impactful solutions for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's great to see. I know the canvas of your company is very wide, and you're trying to integrate or mainstream the concerns of older persons. And we'd really like to see that enhanced. And thank you so much. Rather than you're really mainstreaming it throughout all your activities. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is from Vietnam. He's from HelpAge Vietnam. Ms. Tran, I really look forward to your examples of good practices in how you're working to overcome the digital divides. I know Vietnam has some great intergenerational example.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. This morning is my pleasure to share the work that we have done in Vietnam. Mainly, we done activity through the OPA model, Association of the Elderly model. Next slide, please. Before going to the detail what we have done, I should very quick briefly about the ISC model, OPA model in Vietnam. Is a village model contain around 50 or to 70 members in a village. There's a lot of members and they have a management board member to lead that OPA model. But I don't have much time to go further detail. But here we have Mr. Quyên from Heritage International, who is the focal point of OPA model, who can share further document about it, or you can come to me after this. Next slide, please. In the OPA model that we have in Vietnam is very comprehensive. That conclude 8 core components. But I just want to highlight here is about the 6th one, lifelong learning in the among club members. Next slide, please. So through the ISC model, we conduct several activities about the digital literacy for the club member and management board. Here we conduct the TOT training on how to use smartphone for ISC leaders. We also provide training for them on how to make video and upload them on YouTube, Facebook, and Zalo and other platforms that used in Vietnam, but just using a smartphone. We also organize the contest among IRC to take the great photo with their phone and give them the reward. And it was very excited for them, and it was very impressive that they could do it much better than our expectation. We also running out the rollout trainings for ISC member by the leader that already received the TOT training. Next slide, please. Furthermore, we also conduct the training about how to use the laptop and LCD projector for ISC monthly meeting and show the communication section because monthly ISC will gather member come together to conduct a meeting and have a one section that called communication and awareness raisings that we increase them to use the laptop and projector to show the image, so it bring more effective. Also using digital technical by ISC leader in their communication section. We also provide the training on the use of Skype and Zoom so they can join the hybrid meeting later. In our last project, we also pilot using DSI S2 tracker to record the screening data for NCD risk factor. It's very impressive that is the first time we pilot this software, but we received a lot of good feedback for that and very interesting. Maybe I could share the quote from participant in the next slide. Yeah, next slide, please. Here's some success factors that we record in during our implementation. First, that we believe that older people can be master at IT. Yeah. And focus on raising older people awareness of the benefit of IT, builds their interest and confidence. Using intergenerational approach, young come and help the older people, mutual support. We also focus on design age-friendly training, age-friendly software for older people. And OPA model is a good model that help us to implement the digital technology here, literacy here. And one quote from local people who share about the DSI S2 tracker that we pilot in our last project. I feel more confident club members trust me more because they saw me using the tablet phone and using the NCD screening application to record their screen data. We can do the same as the young people do, and the club member feel happy and secure. That's all from my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tran. The intergenerational self-help clubs of Vietnam are really an example, and they're really up to scale. There are a very large number of them. It's a model that maybe people who don't know can share with them later offline. Our next speaker is Ms. Sabine Henning. Sabine, I'd like you to reflect on some of the learnings from our digital literacy project.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to present on some recent findings of a survey we conducted in a number of countries in Asia and the Pacific. Next slide, please. Would like to start out by reminding us that we actually, again, talking about two major trends, mega trends that are affecting not only Asia Pacific, but the world. Digital transformation, frontier technologies, and demographic trends, in particular aging. This goes back to the UN Economist Network in 2020 that identified these trends as the ones shaping our world today and in the future. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about digital technology, and we heard this before, there is a clear digital divide. This is the latest data from ITU, and what you see for the number of countries where we have data, and the data are very rare. We don't have coverage for the entire region. You clearly see, if you look at the red color bar there, that the older persons are the ones that are not having access to the internet, or much less, they cannot afford it, or they don't have the skills. So when we talk about the digital divide, let's keep in mind it has different dimensions. Affordability, not having the infrastructure in place, maybe being afraid of it, and I will come back to that in a moment, or digital skills. So there are a number of underlying factors here. Next slide, please. If we then look at the global level, and we pulled also some data here for countries around the world, we see very similar patterns emerging. If you look at the one for 75 plus, clearly fewer people have access to the internet worldwide compared to much younger age groups. So it's a pattern we're observing across the globe. Next slide, please. Now, it's good to remind ourselves, and now we're coming from the UN perspective, that member states committed to address the digital divide and how to overcome it. Number one is they clearly stated, and this goes back to the fourth review of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, which was conducted in 2022 at ESCAP, 53 member states, 9 associated members coming together, agreeing that it is very important to promote literacy, numeracy, and technological skills. And furthermore, that the benefits of using technology should be provided to all people. So no digital divide, no differentiations there. And it was also pointed out that people have a right to privacy, and this is an important aspect we need to keep in mind when working with older persons on providing access. Next slide, please. Now, a few words on this project we implemented and are still working on. We worked with OPAs. Thank you very much to HelpAge in particular. The countries are listed there: Cambodia, India, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, PDR, and Vietnam. We went through the OPAs and launched a survey on digital literacy skills. And these are some of the preliminary findings. Most older persons we talked to, if they use the internet, used a smartphone. Very few had no internet access at all. So that's also important. So many people using some device, in particular the smartphone. The internet was used on a daily basis at about 50% of people. So they are using it 50% on a daily basis. Now, in terms of skills, most of them have some basic skills, but they need, and this is something that came from them, they need more training in advanced areas. And also, for example, cybersecurity, and also making financial transactions. And this is something we observe in the private sector. I'm living in Thailand. Everything is over the internet now. If you want to make a transfer to a bank or pay a bill, it has to go through the internet, through your phone. So making older persons more aware and familiar with how to do that is very important. What are the barriers? A lack of knowledge how to use the devices. Being afraid of making a mistake and thinking about the consequences. What does it mean when I do this? And just not doing it because you're afraid and you don't have anyone to talk to about it. And then, of course, security concerns and privacy concerns. We also, of course, see a gender divide here. Older men are being more likely to have access than older women. And also the rural and urban divide is very clear, and the oldest old are lagging behind. Next slide, please. Now, when we look at the skills of older persons that older persons have and possess, basic skills they will clearly have: communication, doing social media, they will have, and sharing that information. But when it comes to cybersecurity, and when it comes to these online services like making a bank transfer, etc., it becomes more difficult for older persons. Next slide, please. So what are the conclusions? And this is also leading into the next part of our session here, thinking about recommendations we can come out with. What we found so far is that it's very important to tailor digital skill programs to the needs of older persons. Older persons have different needs, gender and where they live, rural areas, different ethnicity. All these things factor into developing these programs, or we should factor in when we're developing these programs. Mainstreaming cybersecurity, it should go across, and we often hear that data are lost. This is very dangerous, and we need to work with government entities and people that collect, and organizations that collect the data, that the privacy is maintained, and there is cybersecurity training. We also need to invest in education, of course, and here's a great opportunity for young and old working together, learning from each other, providing a platform for them where they come together and share this. Partnerships, and this meeting is a wonderful opportunity to talk to governments, to the private sector, to CSOs, to the United Nations, in terms of forming these partnerships and moving in this direction. Of course, the right to appropriate technology, the devices that are designed in a way that older persons can easily access them and use them. Age-friendly technology, universal design, persons with disability. I mean, this is an important issue when we talk about aging, keeping that in mind. And finally, the intergenerational aspects. And I already alluded to this. This is a wonderful opportunity for young and old to come together and learn and advance together. And with that, I will conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sabine. That was a very nice segue into the next stage. I think the four presentations really complemented each other. I think you highlighted what steps, scaled up steps that governments are taking. We also heard about the intergenerational aspect and perhaps an encapsulation of what needs to be done in order to improve digital literacy. I know we're about 10 minutes behind, but I will open up for just one round of questions or comments, very short, to the point. If there are any questions, we will have a chance to explore this in the smaller group. Did I see a raised hand somebody? Yes, Ambis.
Thank you very much for all the presenters, amazing presentations. So I just want to pick what Sabine mentioned about digital divide and the digital gender divide. And there is also not only the gender dimension, but as she mentioned, there is also the issue of the access of oldest old to the technology. And there is also another dimension of income. I mean, usually older people in low-income deciles have limited access to this technology. So my question is that how you are thinking to bring this gender dimension to your work, how to monitor that to narrow this gender gap.
Very great question. We will take up one more. Yes, lady at the back.
Thank you. Gemma from HelpAge. Really interesting presentations, and thank you for hearing about the projects and different approaches. Sabine was talking about how older people can feel fearful sometimes of making mistakes, and also someone mentioned something about patience between family members. And I'm just wondering, how are we thinking about maybe the self-directed ageism that older people face when, potentially doing new things, and then also the interpersonal ageism between family members and older people. I spoke with someone, a stakeholder the other day, that was talking about family members taking away mobile phones from older people because there was an assumption that they don't need to use them. This was in Fiji. So just thinking about ageism and how we can think about this in this space as well, if anyone has any suggestions.
Thank Thank you very much. I think we can relate personally sometimes to some of the examples you gave. I think I'll keep that for also the panel. Any more? I'll take one more before coming back to the panel, please. Did you want to ask a question? No. Yes, gentleman at the back. Microphone to the gentleman.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm from the Vietnam Health Insurance Department. So I would like to ask the member from the Thai and Indonesia. Also, how can you encourage the elderly people access to the platform with such kind of financial benefit by which way? Because normally some people only request when they get some benefits, and after that they rely and get out for a platform after register. So how you can encourage them after you get the people register inter platform? Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yes, you're talking about incentives to use the platform for older persons. I think we will definitely get them to answer. So can I suggest that we go round to the panelists as part of the final round? Maybe first starting with Pak Dinar, if you'd like to pick up on the question that was last asked, and also perhaps how you're addressing the gender issue within your Silania. I mean, what is the uptake? Do you have a breakup in terms of men and women? So maybe we'll start from you while the others reflect, including, and then we'll take up the question also about maybe should I say, older persons doubting themselves and family members in unintentionally actually showing a kind of an ageism. But let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Pa. So far, we don't have a specific incentive of using the platform. However, we do think that one of the inspiration actually to create the platform was the COVID-19, because we wanted to know if older people are still connected to the world, whether they are okay, whether they will be able to request for services even though they are not allowed to go outside or communicate a lot with other people. So what we want to introduce is that something that that they will use because they need it. So not only the financial incentive. However, I would say that this is not easy. When we start, people know everyone that work in the integrated care hub. So I don't need that online system. I can just go to them and then ask whether you can help me or not. I need someone to bring me to the health center, for example. But we try to encourage them to also use it. So just in case they are not able to contact the case managers directly, they will be able to use the app. So what we do is that we, during the meeting with the older people, so the activity of the integrated care would sometimes include meetings with the older people. We try to socialize the app, and then we try to make sure that the family can use it, and then the case manager also encourage it. So no specific incentive on that. On the gender divide, to be honest, we don't have the data now. But like in many places, older people are dominated by female older people. But that is, I think it is a good idea for us to have a breakdown whether the users are the data of the users by gender, but by the status of disability, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's something that has got you thinking very clearly. Okay, Kun Patrapon, just about how you address the issue of gender within your, how do you address whether you address the need of older women within your programs, and there's anything else? Just very briefly.
Let me introduce you the example project 100 to 5 project training digital marketing to the elderly. we train just only 100 elderly to be a leader, and after that, the leader inspires another.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And follow up with in-depth interview and focus group, and we try so hard.
But how many of
Train-
them are women? We're talking about elderly, but is there anything where you're targeting older women within that? Like older women?
Over,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you. Answer the question.
The many trainees are elderly
Woman,
women. Yes.
thank you. Ms. Tran, very good.
Thank you very much for your question. I think that the approach of OPA in Vietnam is quite comprehensive, where it is 70% are women among the club members. So mainly, if you can see from the our photo in presentation, most of them are women. So we increase them, use the technologies and yeah.
Last words? Just last words about self. Yeah.
Peer-to-peer, I think, is very important. We just heard women trainers, peer-to-peer, older persons talking to older persons, how to use these devices. Time and patience, I think, come also to mind. So with that, I give it over to you.
Thank you very much. I know that we have, focused discussions where a lot of these questions will be taken up, including the question on how do you improve the confidence of older persons about them doubting themselves. Can we wait for the breakup, ma'am? I'm sorry, because I'm also being given signals that I need to end. But we would definitely like to hear from you. So do ask your question in the next session. Thank you very much. Vanessa, can I hand over to you, please? Thank you very much. Can I ask for a round of applause for our wonderful panel?
Thank you, Srinivas. Now it's time to be interactive. We want all of you to think and give us suggestions. And I'm having several co-moderators with me, Mr. Pradeep Chakraborty from HelpAge India. You saw him yesterday already. And Mrs. Casey P. She's currently a consultant with ESCAP, but also affiliated with the Tsao Foundation. And yeah, I can see we already have the questions here. And I invite Mr. Pradeep to take over the first question. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a conglomeration of some of the discussions that happened yesterday. And we saw three young presenters, doers on the ground who had converted their great determination, passion into something that benefits older people. I believe there are at least 2 or 3 are sitting here. And today we heard from practitioners and the government about the government position, about the ITU position, and the kind of numbers of older people who are on the internet or who are part of a digital solution, either for intergenerational learning or, for example, for accessing various government schemes. So this session is composed of 4 questions. We would encourage you to put on your thinking hats on. We will not have group work, but what we would try to do is to solicit your opinions, your experiences, your presentations, or maybe even questions to the group or to the moderators or to us in terms of any experiences that you would want to be shared. So I'll go to the first question. What are the key challenges and what are the key challenges and opportunities in bridging digital divides across different age groups? A part of the answers was discussed by Sabine, but I would like to open this to the whole group sitting here and find out if you have any perspectives, opinions, or data or information about your respective countries from where you come from. So I'll just open it up. I would want the mic to be going here and there. So if there is any, I would like to open it up and see if there are any person who would want to answer this question with regard to key challenges or key opportunities to bridge the digital divide. I'll give you some. So what I will do is to give you some keywords just to stimulate your thoughts on this. So one is maybe the lack of skills of older persons to even engage with the digital solution. And the second may be a limitation in the cognitive abilities which stops them from or which hinders them from using the digital solution fully. And the third is, of course, especially in South and Southeast Asian countries, is the affordability and the infrastructure that is required. So if you could just take a minute and then give me your thoughts, opinions, data, information about the same. I already see two hands. Want to?
Thank you so much, sir. Hello, everyone. I'm Leena Chauhan from Gravis, India. So here, for the first question, I would like to add a point here for the key challenge that any of the stakeholder face while bridging the digital divide in the rural setting. I'll be quoting my experience from the field. I have gathered data regarding use of technology by older people and younger generation. It was an intergenerational dialogue, and where we found that there's a need for acceptance among the older population regarding the use of technology for the good or for the betterment. We found that most of the elderlies were under impression that younger population are wasting their time on internet. How? Because most of them are using it for social media, right? And in our context, I'll tell you, the major occupation there is agriculture. And the younger population are not helping their families in agriculture, but spending their time on mobile phone. They are utilizing the small amount of money that the breadwinner of the family is earning on mobile recharge or on internet recharge. If they have 2 or 3 siblings, they have multiple mobile phones, so they would require multiple recharges. So that's how the perception is going negative. But we have also seen the positive side of this internet or mobile technology. So first we need to make them aware about different usage of this digital technology, then we can bridge the gap. So the key challenge here, along with the affordability and the infrastructure, is acceptance also. I think with the acceptance, it can lead to foster confidence. That's my submission. Thank you.
I think you had raised your hand.
I think one of the biggest challenge is access to hardware. All right. In order for you to be able to do digital, you need to either have a laptop or a mobile phone. All right. Access to hardware, especially for the senior people. And then the internet, the Wi-Fi availability. In certain countries, you can only do it in the major city. In the rural area, it's not so accessible. All right? But the main fear is for older people is technology phobia. All right? They have this barrier that wow, it will be very difficult for me to be able to use Wi-Fi to reach my children or to access to information. And even to buy nowadays, you buy a ticket, a plane ticket and all that, you also need that. So these are the 3: hardware, all right, and Wi-Fi ability, and then the third one is technology phobia. This is more the psychological part, all right? Thank you.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, the major challenge in my country is, this digital technology is far, because in my country more than 90% of older women are illiterate. They even can't write their name. So for them, digital literacy is like a dream. Though older men can write their name and write, they are basic literate, they cannot use mobile phone due to many problems. So I think lifelong learning opportunities should be there for not only the older people of today, but for future older people also. It's for me also, because technology has been changing every time, every generation. So if there is lifelong learning opportunity, then it will help for me to learn, for future generation, for everyone. So I think we should also think about the basic literacy in the developing countries like Nepal, rather than only focusing on digital literacy. Thank you. Basic literacy. Yeah. There is, infrastructural development, Wi-Fi is another problem, but in my country, most of the older people are illiterate. So older women are illiterate. So before implementing any kind of digital literacy program, there must be the basic literacy so that they can understand, they can learn learn how to write their name. They must have the basic literacy, so they can understand A, B, C, D, E, like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So basic literacy is the first priority for the country like Nepal, I think.
So just to stimulate some of our thoughts, do you think, or do any of us think that short form videos that we see in Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts is helpful for learning? It can, of course, be used in both ways, negative as well as positive. But do we think, or do you think that when a country's population is, or older persons are illiterate or might not be able to use digital literacy or digital to the extent that we would want them to, would videos be a good example or a good way to educate them on different aspects? Yes or no?
Hello.
Yes,
Ye-
no?
yeah. It depends upon upon the older people who lives where and who lives where. I mean, in rural area they don't have Wi-Fi. In rural area they don't have anyone to twist them. They don't have mobile phone also. So how can it will be accessible to the older people? So videos are only for the literate, only for the people who are living in the urban area and who are living with their family members. But we are aware that the older people, many older people are alone with their spouse of their same age group. Older people are living with older people. So in such cases, I don't think it will be accessible. So we have to think about the older people who are in rural parts of country, who are in developing countries, who are illiterate, so who haven't seen the mobile phone even. There are so many people in mountain region. So let's think about, bottom-up approach, something like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm
So-
sorry.
Well,
I have last lady from behind. She
Last
stand for a
question,
while.
last
For the last one, okay, please. Please, for the first question, the last one.
Thank you so much. About the digital divide we're talking, I think we've been saying that lack of knowledge is one of the barriers. We all agree about that. But then again, the question here is, we do educate them. We do get them to understand the importance of it. But how can we do this in a way that it's sustainable? For example, let's talk about the Maldives, where I'm coming from. Financial literacy, for example, the bankers, the banks, they go to islands, they tell the people how to use their applications on their phones. Of course, a one-time introduction to it, and then it's gone. The elderly forget about what is being taught. So the question is, how do we do this in a way that we teach the elderly? We sometimes underestimate them. We think that they wouldn't know. But maybe hand-holding them through the process for a year, have young advocates, have intergenerational dialogues with the young people in the island in a way that we handhold them till they learn how to do it. Once they learn, I'm sure they don't forget how to do it. So we're very focused on doing it in a way that we do it for a one-time thing. We go into an island, we give them a training, we tell them how to do it, but that's it. They forget it again. So I think it's equally important that we do these, we give this knowledge, we educate them in a way that they learn and it's a lifelong thing for them, And another thing is when we talk about expanding the reach, one of the questions, one of the things we've mentioned was maybe through YouTube videos we can educate them. I think it's equally important to focus on the things they are interested in. For example, in the Maldives, a lot of elderly people, I think they watch these drama series. They sit near the television, they enjoy watching that. Maybe incorporate that into it. They would look at it, they would learn the benefits of it, they would know it, and then maybe they would be more interested in it. So it's also maybe equally important the approach we take to get them convinced that this is important.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. So with Maldives' question, I think we can move on to the second question on the board, actually. We've heard a lot about the challenges, right? You know, how the challenges of this digital divide. But, you know, we also hear some opportunities. So for the second question, it's really how do we leverage, you know, this intergenerational relations into an opportunity to enhance digital literacy, safe, responsible computing, and lifelong learning for the older person. Yeah, so I would like to open up to the floor for you to have, you know, to hear your comments, questions that you might have, or maybe experiences that you have with regard to this question. Anyone?
One? Okay.
Nobody? Oh, okay, Gravis again, from India.
Yes. This is one of my favorite topic. That's why I'm more excited to speak.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So I would be responding to the question that was the moderator asked to the participant delegate from Nepal.
But could you focus
yeah,
also on the
along with the
intergenerational
second and third one.
relations?
I mean, my response would be answered to all of this. So here, I mean, digital literacy, as the panelist mentioned, it's I mean, we have to have patience to you know, have this in our community. So it's a slow process. We cannot you know, expect older ones or even the mature adults to grab it, to understand it instantly. We have also learned it slowly. So yeah, yes, it's a slow process, and younger generation are the ones who can lead this, you know, the flag of digital literacy among their community to teach older people among their families, their neighborhood, and you know, and build confidence among them. This also will enhance intergenerational solidarity within the community. And with Gravis's experience, I mean, we have formed and strengthened intergenerational learning groups across our working area in western parts of Rajasthan. We have seen that in the older women are happy to learn. I mean, they are still learning. They are also teaching them to write their names. Along with this, girls are also teaching them to how to operate mobile. They're not teaching it, them literally. I mean, that's the keypad. I mean, numeric wise. But to operate it, like to dial a number, you have to press this button or that button. So that's an innovative way, a beautiful way to look at it. So that's an example. I mean, to enhance that is enhancing intergenerational relationship among the community.
Right, thank you so very much. It's really creating this intergenerational platforms, right? To be intentional about it, I guess. Okay, I have two hands. The lady over there and over here. So maybe you go first.
I wanted. Okay. Just to add to that.
Maybe you could tell us where you're from.
Okay, I'm Radhi Abulawar from Chulalongkorn University, and I'd like to highlight on that point that we need to understand and think about the intergenerational relations in two key ways. The first one on the vertical way. I mean, we might think about the younger and older generations, but at the same time, they can learn from each others. So in that sense, you know, digital literacy could be, in terms of tools, could be can be shared from younger generations to older generations. While on the other hand, the experiences or the knowledge could be transferred from the older generations into the younger one. That's the first point. And for that, I think it would enhance the digital literacy, not just only to using tools, but understand what we need to know and what would be behind that digital knowledge. That the other point is that the horizontal level. Horizontal mean like you can think about like older persons. There are for example, oldest or generations and the young old generations can learn from each other. For example, like the young, we can say like those who are age of 60 or 65 or 70 can also teach like 70 to 80 plus, in a sense that we are also know that they are having greater or better education, so that we're thinking about the future. So this generation can also enhance the older generations, I mean the older age as well.
Right, thank you. So what we are hearing is that in addition to the platforms, that we need to create, it is also talking about a two-way communication, a two-way transfer, right, between the generations. Like that it's not just the young, so-called teaching the older ones, but also I think the older ones can also teach the younger person something. And also between the different age group of the older person, there can also be that intergenerational transfer and that learning happening. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm also from Nepal. First, I really reiterate what my colleagues Sanju has said, even for enhancing intergeneration, relationship to reduce digital divide. This literacy is very, very essential. Apart from that, the next is the content, the appetite. The appetite of intergenerational has to be assessed in order to really address their appetite through a content, because creation of a content is very, very essential to really have an intergenerational exchange and enhance. So that also we need to be very sure. Another thing what I experience in our community is, I think this digital division is, this technology is not only for reducing the digital divide, but really to address the negative images, transforming, whatever the inconducive environment, images, practices, I think that should also be addressed. So the digital should be very age and gender responsive, so that it will not only reduce the digital divide, but again address the gap, address the negative images, stereotypical attitude towards older people and older women. So I think through the digital technology, we really need to address both ageism and gender discrimination, so that women and men and of different generation will be together, and which will really enhance intergenerational relationship to learn the digital technology together. Thank you very much.
That is the big opportunity that you are talking about, right? That if we do this and we do this right, it can address so many of the issues that are, that we see today, so to speak.
Okay, so for the next question, right?
Now, third question.
Okay, so right now I think we heard many ideas already. So we want to, this is a very good opportunity for you guys to come together and to learn among each other. So the next one, I think we would love to listen from your guys that any initiative or any good practice that depend on the context or the area. I think it's different, right? So would love to understand, or you can share like just 1 or 2 minutes from each of you. Would love to hear like 3 or 4 good practice that you can share among your friends. Okay, please, thank.
Yes, my name is Quinn from HealthAge International, and we've been working promoting digital inclusion for older people for many, many years. And initially, our initial focus was recruiting young volunteers to train older people how to use digital inclusion. That was good, but was not very sustainable. It's very temporary. The volunteers in high school, college can only volunteer for a short period of time. The need is very, very extensive. So what we've done is we shifted a little bit, so can the young people train older people to become trainers? Trainers of trainers. Because there are lots of older people, especially large number of retired older people that can be trained to become trainers. And they will have the time. They will be there always with the older people, so they can become long-term trainers and provide much greater support, in-depth support. They know what older people needs. They know what older people likes and know what older people use. So focusing on older people training was solving our issue of sustainability, but also scalability as well. So thank you.
Very nice, like sustain and scale up together in the same time.
My name is Aja Nur Setiawati from Aisyah Women Organization. Sorry, maybe I speak by bahasa ya. Kami punya pengalaman bagaimana perempuan di salah satu kabupaten di daerah pegunungan di Sumatera Selatan itu akhirnya mereka mengakses HP. Jadi itu bermula ketika kita melakukan pemberdayaan kelompok tani. Nah kemudian karena ternyata di kelompok tani ini mereka biasanya terhubung dengan WhatsApp, lalu kemudian sharing tentang bagaimana belajar tentang pertanian itu ada di grup. Akhirnya mereka yang semula nggak punya HP dan tidak memprioritaskan beli HP gitu ya, akhirnya kemudian mereka bisa menggunakan dan mau belajar penggunaan HP. Jadi ternyata pemberdayaan di kelompok itu membuat mereka jadi muncul kesadaran I need HP.
So just a quick translation. So, from our experience, we've been doing work with women in one of the districts in the mountainous areas in South Sumatra. And so it was about empowerment and how they can actually access smartphones or mobile phones. And so we did this group empowerment and we saw that they were using WhatsApp and they were able to share with each other. But we saw previously that people that were not using mobile phones and they weren't prioritizing to buy mobile phones, that once we did this group empowerment activity with them, that they really saw the benefits coming out of that.
Very interesting. It's very far away, but okay, please, next.
Sowang from Foundation for Older Person Development, Chiang Mai, Thailand. From the 4 lines here, I can divide it into 4 categories. One is the older people and device. Because the group of older people exist in these countries. Thailand is not exception. So how to train or advise older people to use smartphones smartly? Because many older people, particularly who are 60 and above, or even 70, they still use smartphone. But quite often we heard that they are cheated from using smartphone. And number 2 is something different. It is something like communication. And the reality is that the old people and the young people, they speak different wavelengths. So the challenge is how to bridge them, to get together and try to speak in the same wavelength. I mean, because as a matter of fact, they don't like to talk to each other because they think that you are too whatsoever it is. And number 3 is something else about gender. And if you see the gathering of the older people, for Thailand, for example, most of them are women. And men stay behind. But if they go to the meeting, most of them are men. See? And the last one, interesting, is my dream. How to encourage the business sector to get involved in this. For example, the mobile phone or the media device, if the country have policy like if people, for example, 65 and over, have reduced price for them. So they get easy to access to media device. And the internet provider, can you, older people can use for free? That should be the policy. Because older people here means could be 50 and 70, no, 60 or 70 and above. It depends on the country. So this is my idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And actually, this already leads to our last questions, because you mentioned policies we need. And now it's your opportunity to present your wishes to your governments. What do you think? What should your government do to bridge the digital divide, to encourage or to make older persons able to use it? We heard there are barriers, can be financial barriers, access to hardware, or sometimes not being able how to use it, or not getting sustainable training. So we've heard a lot at the ground level. Now your opportunity to suggest your wishes to your governments. We have 5 minutes left, so very quick.
Can we start from here, Vanessa? Can we start from
I'm Samantha from Sri Lanka. So I would like to add something to what Mr. Shravang said. So we can see the devices are very expensive. I mean, if you try to buy a smartphone, it's very expensive, mainly because all these countries, they have a lot of high import taxes on these units. So that is one of the main reason people cannot access to these smartphones. I mean, in Sri Lanka, you can see older people are using the old type of phones, not smartphone. That is because of the cost. So I think as the governments must make a decision to say low cost or no import taxes or duties for these units which are being used by the elderly people. And also they must also support these companies who are providing internet facilities and all that, for them to give a lesser taxes for them to provide this service free of charge to elderly.
Thank you. That's, yes, import taxes, so making them tax-free, considering it as an essential device and maybe not as a luxury good anymore. That's one suggestion. We had somebody here.
Yeah, I think during these 2 days, we have heard about so many good things happen here and there, so many innovation. So if, not if, but because now I'm 62 years old, I'm more or less a senior citizen. If I don't know the situation, I can see so many applications. So how can I choose wisely? That remind me to think about Tuesday that Sabine presented about the repository. Is it possible for the government or any agency to have a list of repository for the good application to be used for the senior, so that they can, pick up which one that they prefer? And on the other hand, our colleague from Chiang Mai said about cheating. I think there are so many, illegal call center happen. I'm not sure in other countries, but in Thailand, there are so many illegal call centers, try to cheat the elderly to transfer the money something like that. So how to prevent this? I think this also very important because when you do something, there will be not only good, but also the bad thing. How you can prevent the bad. That also the government or the digital agency to think about. Thank you very much.
Hello, can I?
Thank you. Yes.
I'm from Malaysia soon. It is up to us, the civil society and the community leaders, to work with the government, to impress upon the government the necessity with dealing with aging population. All right, in Malaysia, we are aware that by 2030, we will be an aged nation. And we impress on the government to come up with a long-term policy and strategy. But that is not good enough. We still have to make sure they can come up with very nice, all right, policy wording. Is make sure they take the action too. So I'm happy in Malaysia the government have come up with their various action policy on aging population issue, and we are also working with the town council, city council. These are the people really dealing with the senior citizen on the ground. And we have to make sure that they really put into program and action that will really help the senior citizen to deal with, in this case, digitalization. All right? And I agree with our colleague there. Now, very often we have scams going to the mobile phone, through the internet, please transfer. They don't say like that, but they want your money. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Collaboration with civil society and government and everybody is important. I have to close soon, but I see three more. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Very quick that I wish that our government would promote the technology through the OPA model that Quinn mentioned before. And furthermore, I wish that our government would put the learning hub in community where they provide the computer, laptop, and screen free of charge with internet connected for older people to come and learn from that with free of charge. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, I saw one more. And yes, I remember in the back from Mr.
Okay.
Yeah, the gentleman here, and then.
Should I go now?
Okay, then
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've been listening to all the conversation here, and I'm thinking that, I'm also grew up in a generation where from the Nokia phone and now very smartphone. And I don't know, even my son who is a young person now, in the aging process, in 20 years' time, I don't know whether it will be the mobile phones or the laptops that will be the technology-based. So the pace at which that we are trying to bring about the change in literacy, the way we did the training and awareness a few years ago might not be relevant anymore. So we also have to have a futuristic thinking process in mind to quickly get this generational divide addressed. Otherwise, at the pace of the way we do the TOT trainings and get one generation to teach the other generation might not be efficient or effective by the time, say, the current millennials reach their aging in, say, 2030 or 2050. So we have to have a different model, futuristic, forward-looking thinking, even when we do the technology-based awareness training. I thought I'll share this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, another important point, and we had one more speaking request.
I'm Vira from Have Age Cambodia. Actually, my point is just similar to Tran already mentioned, but just try to elaborate in a different way. I think it's important that to involve the CSR project, the policy that promotes CSR project, that especially around promoting the benefit of digital access to digital. It's also the benefit of the smartphone, for example, and also a policy that promoting peer learning, peer education. we can see that we have a woman group, we have an older people group. So this peer learning perhaps is more important. So the policy should emphasize on this. And also the last one is yeah, just agree with what Quinn has also mentioned about promoting the role of the older people in training to the older people.
Thank you very much. I'm receiving more requests.
Oh, okay. So just quick response that as mentioned by the previous colleague that there is many scamming for the older people. So maybe like the data privacy law and financial literacy is more important. And like as we know that most of older person they didn't aware about the financial literacy. When they get like the message, just click this and they will submit their financial data. So I think in the situations like the financial literacy and also data privacy law will be important. And after that, maybe the government can do like community engagement through the public's consultation. So maybe they can conduct like workshop or something like that. And when they have like recommendations, like they're planning to do the policy, they can consult to the public. So it will be important to public to know, so they know that this is will be related to their needs, fulfill their needs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. There was another request, Mr. Mishra.
Yes. I would like to say, like, for all the policymakers, that we should, they should stop seeing the older people as a mere beneficiary. They should see the older people as a stakeholders. So the continuous consultation with the CBOs or the older people will be much more beneficial for developing the policy. Like we have an example of giving the digital device to older women in Rajasthan. Either they are not using them or their family men are using them. So it's more important to consult with them, train them, then do the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. We always have to reach the furthest behind, and there was a gentleman in the back of the room.
Hi, apologize if I missed the discussions, but I haven't heard and understood the role of the AI for these challenges. I believe this is the AI era, but can AI help to solve the challenges and the opportunity to enhance the opportunities, especially for the elderly, because I'm elderly myself, so I have many interests on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more request.
Okay. So hello everyone, it's me Sanju from Nepal. Anyway, so the policy, you know, it's not something like a book or document you take and go in the community and implement. There must be the policy that is stepwise. So for that, we have to identify the needs of the community, whether they are basic literate or not, or digital illiterate or not. So our government must conduct research to identify the need of digital literacy in the particular area. After that, they can formulate the policy accordingly. So I think we have to, as Cohen said, we have to train the older people first as a trainer. So it depends upon the age group. Like if the older people is it's near old age, because the teaching older people is not so easy. They have different kind of cognitive. The trainer must need patience. So there are so many strategies to train the older people. So a teenager or middle-aged people, it's really hard for them to teach the older people. So I think we should train the near old age people, and then old age and older, young old age and older old age, so that they can work together. If the older people or trainer is near old, then he can teach the young old. Then young old can teach the older old, and the older old can teach the oldest old. So these kinds of methods should be taken so that everyone can learn and teach from each other. Everyone can understand the meaning or importance of digital literacy. So research is the most priority before the formulating policy. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I really have to close. You also want to have lunch, I'm sure, and there we still have a summary. I would now like to invite Mr. Somchai Chitsuchon, Research Director at the Thailand Development Research Institute, to give a summary, which is very difficult. I'm quite glad I don't have to.
Yes, it's very difficult, but it's also very entertaining. I won't take much time, probably about a couple of minutes, to reflect what I've been learning from listening to all of this very interesting conversation. I think first of all, we talk about addressing the issue of not having the device. Even though that the statistics say that, well, many people have device, but if you go to the very, maybe low-income people, low-income country, that still be a problem. So there are two sub-issues into this. First is the cost of the device itself. There's a recommendation that there should be subsidy. There should be a tax-free or reduced import tax on this so that to make it affordable. Second of all, when some people might not want to have device because they don't see the benefit of it. So in this sense, we need to raise awareness the benefit of having the device, having connectivities. And related issue on this is that maybe the role of the private sector itself. The private sector can offer something like a discount, probably internet free discount to older people to make sure that more and more older people are using the device. Now, once we have the device, how are we going to use this? Issue raising about maybe some people do not want to use it, some older people, because they're afraid of being cheated. So in this sense, the issue of cybersecurity will be very important, which should be put as one of the important government policy to address this. This is very interesting. And also the learning between them, the peer learning, the vertical, the horizontal learning between each other, this is also very important. And on top of that, the issue of maybe the old people is not that good at learning. So maybe we have to think of something novel, like the last comment of allowing the young old to teach the old, something like that. So that might be making them communicate between each other much better. There's some issue on policy. Lastly, we heard about the state-wise policy. I think that is something important because sometimes the government just focus on one particular region, one particular area, which is not, we are in the digital era, right? Things should be moving faster. And also the CSR, which is I already mentioned. And also the government should support the platform. We heard at least 3 very interesting platforms for the panelists. The question is that how much the government actually support those platforms. So these are the things that I think that we all agree that we should put in place. So that's my take on after listening to all of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I am back for the closing. So I think first of all, I think a huge thanks to all of you for participating in this and absolutely, doing the thinking for the next wave of actions that we need to develop. And all of you, some excellent suggestions have come forward. I'll just like to wrap it up by saying and picking up from what the lady said about the pace of change. So for a long time, I was trying to teach my father to get onto the digital banking system, but he insisted on going to the bank and getting the printed passbook because he wanted to do that. So that's one aspect of it. And now I am 53, but I look to my Gen Z son to teach me something. So the pace of change is such that the divide is something that is kind of, the technology is outpacing us. And how do we do that catch up for ourselves and for the older generation? That's something that we have to think about. Second, it's very intensely personal. I'm sure all of you can relate to people around you, looking at your generation as well as the others, and you will see these stories. And a lot of these aspects were brought out today that it's very, very context heavy. Elderly have a different context. They have a different way of learning. They have a different methodology of how they think about it, acceptance, and a whole range of ideas that come about. So it's not technical. I think digital is not about technical. It's largely behavioral, social, and the mindset aspect is probably the biggest one that we are facing. I mean, ageism is something that is such a big thing that is playing out in digital. We don't see elderly as capable. Sometimes we don't see them worthy of spending their time. And if we change the mindset at the family level, social level, the societal level, and advocate to the government, I think that's the prime mover. And I will also say that advocate to the private sector. We got a grant from Google to do digital safety. There are people in the private sector who are giants, but they're not thinking about the elderly. So with that, I would like to, again, thank all the speakers, presenters, and all of you and encourage you to keep this thinking going on. Thank you very much.